Rome 59 AD. A villa near the coast of Naples. The doors burst open. Armed centurions, swords drawn, surround a single, unarmed woman. She does not scream. She does not beg for mercy. She looks at the assassin, tears open her robe and exposes her torso. She points to her stomach, the very place that once carried the Emperor of Rome, and utters her final chilling command, "Smite my womb." This woman is Agrippina the Younger. To understand how she ended up here, facing execution on the orders of her own son, we must unravel a life so filled with ambition and blood that it terrified historians for centuries. She was the great-granddaughter of Augustus, the sister of a madman, the wife of a fool, and the mother of a monster. They called her the Poison Queen. They called her a manipulator. But in the deadly snake pit of the Roman Empire, she was simply a survivor who played the game better than any man dared. Agrippina was born into royalty, but in Rome royal blood was a death sentence. Born in 15 AD, she was the daughter of the beloved general Germanicus and the formidable Agrippina the Elder. Her lineage was perfect. She was a direct descendant of the divine Augustus. But perfection breeds jealousy. When she was just a child, her father Germanicus died under mysterious circumstances in Syria. Poison was suspected, likely on the orders of the Emperor Tiberius. This was Agrippina's first lesson. The higher you climb, the bigger the target on your back. Her teenage years were a horror story. The Emperor Tiberius, paranoid and cruel, systematically destroyed her family. Her mother was exiled and starved to death. Her two older brothers were imprisoned and killed. Agrippina was left alone, a teenage orphan in a court of wolves. She learned quickly that to survive she had to be useful and she had to be quiet. She was married off at 13 to Gnaeus Domitius Ahenobarbus, a man described by historians as detestable in every aspect of his life. When Agrippina gave birth to their son Lucius, the boy who would become Nero, her husband allegedly looked at the child and said, "Nothing that is born of me and Agrippina can result in anything but a curse upon the state." He was right. In 37 AD the tyrant Tiberius died. The world rejoiced because the new emperor was Agrippina's surviving brother, Caligula. For a brief moment, Agrippina was on top of the world. Caligula showered his sisters with honors, even putting their faces on coins, an unprecedented move for women in Rome. But Caligula was mentally unstable. The Golden Age quickly turned into a nightmare of debauchery and madness. Rumors swirled, rumors that persist to this day, that Caligula was engaged in incestuous relationships with his sisters. Whether true or just political slander, Agrippina was trapped in his web. But Agrippina was not a victim, she was a player. Seeing her brother's descent into madness, she joined a conspiracy to assassinate him. The plot failed. Caligula was furious. He didn't execute her though. That would be too easy. He seized her property, humiliated her, and exiled her to a tiny rocky island in the Mediterranean. For 2 years she lived in poverty, diving for sponges to sell for food, waiting for the news that she knew must come. And it did. Caligula was butchered by his own guards. His uncle, the stuttering, limping Claudius, was dragged from behind a curtain and made emperor. Agrippina was allowed to return to Rome. She had lost her fortune, her husband was dead, and she was a single mother to a young boy named Nero. But she had the one thing that mattered, the blood of Augustus. Rome under Emperor Claudius was a dangerous place, largely because of his wife, the promiscuous and deadly Messalina. Messalina saw Agrippina, and more importantly Agrippina's son Nero, as a threat to her own children's path to the throne. Messalina actually sent assassins to strangle the toddler Nero in his sleep. Legend says a snake slithered out from under Nero's pillow, scaring the assassins away. Agrippina knew, it was kill or be killed. Luck was on her side. Messalina overplayed her hand, committing bigamy in a public scandal, and was executed. The position of Empress was open. The competition was fierce. Eligible noblewomen threw themselves at Claudius. But Agrippina did something taboo. She seduced her own uncle. Roman law forbade incest between an uncle and niece, but Agrippina didn't care about laws, she cared about power. She used her charm, her intellect, and her lineage to convince Claudius that marrying her would unite the family and secure his throne. The Senate passed a special decree to legalize the marriage. Agrippina became empress. And the moment the ring was on her finger, the coup began. Agrippina was not a behind-the-scenes wife. She was a co-ruler. She sat on a dais next to Claudius to receive foreign ambassadors. She founded a city in Germany, modern-day Cologne, named after herself. She was the first woman in Roman history to be given the title Augusta while her husband was still alive. But her main goal was singular: Nero must be emperor. Claudius already had a son, Britannicus, but Agrippina systematically dismantled Britannicus's future. She convinced Claudius to adopt Nero and make him the heir over his own blood son. She manipulated the Praetorian Guard. She surrounded Nero with the best tutors, including the famous philosopher Seneca. By 54 AD, Claudius was old, failing, and reportedly regretting his marriage. He began to talk about reinstating Britannicus as his heir. Agrippina ran out of time. She couldn't wait for nature to take its course. Enter Locusta, Rome's most infamous professional poisoner. The story goes that Agrippina hired Locusta to prepare a toxin sprinkled onto Claudius's favorite dish: mushrooms. During a banquet, Claudius ate the mushrooms. He began to choke, clutching his throat. In the chaos, his doctor, likely bribed by Agrippina, shoved a feather down his throat, supposedly to help him vomit. But the feather too was dipped in poison. Claudius died in agony. Agrippina delayed the announcement of his death for hours, locking down the palace until the Praetorian Guard was secured. When the doors opened, it was Nero who stepped out as the new sun god of Rome. Agrippina had won. Nero was only 16. Agrippina assumed that she would be the true emperor, ruling through her son. In the early coins of Nero's reign, Agrippina's face faces Nero's, equal in size, equal in power. She attended Senate meetings, listening from behind a curtain. She dictated policy. But there was a problem she hadn't anticipated. Teenagers grow up. Nero, encouraged by his tutors Seneca and Burrus, began to resent his mother's suffocating control. He wanted to enjoy the perks of being emperor, the parties, the women, the arts, without his mother lecturing him. He fell in love with a slave girl act. Agrippina was furious. She scolded him, humiliated him, and threatened to throw her support behind Britannicus, the rightful heir she had previously sidelined. This was a fatal mistake. You do not threaten an emperor even if he is your son. Nero's response was swift. At a dinner party, Britannicus was served wine. He dropped dead instantly. Nero claimed it was an epileptic seizure. Agrippina sat there, frozen, realizing for the first time that the monster she had created was now out of her control. The relationship shattered. Nero expelled Agrippina from the palace. He stripped her of her German bodyguards. She was left in a villa, isolated, powerless, yet still dangerous because of her name and her influence. Then Nero met Poppaea Sabina, a noblewoman even more ruthless than Agrippina. Poppaea wanted to marry Nero, but she knew Agrippina would never allow it. She whispered in Nero's ear, "Your mother is plotting against you. She wants the throne for herself." Nero decided his mother had to die. But you cannot just execute the daughter of Germanicus publicly. It had to look like an accident. Nero devised a plan so elaborate it sounds like a cartoon. He invited his mother to a festival at Baiae, a seaside resort. He was charming, apologetic, and loving. He offered her a ride home on a magnificent, specially constructed boat. Agrippina, perhaps hoping for reconciliation, accepted. The boat was a death trap. It was designed with a lead-weighted canopy that would collapse on command, crushing her, while the hull would break apart, sinking the ship. Under the starlight, the signal was given. The canopy crashed down. It killed one of Agrippina's attendants instantly. But the high sides of Agrippina's couch saved her from being crushed. The mechanism to sink the ship failed to trigger properly. In the confusion, the crew began to try and capsize the boat manually. Agrippina's friend, Acerronia, thinking to save herself, screamed out in the darkness, "Help me! I am the Empress Agrippina." The crew, thinking she was the target, beat her to death with oars. Agrippina, silent and intelligent, saw through the chaos. She slipped into the water. Despite being in her 40s and injured, she swam to shore. She had survived the unsurvivable. Agrippina made it to her villa. She sent a messenger to Nero, telling him she had luckily survived a terrible accident. When the messenger arrived, Nero panicked. He knew the jig was up. If Agrippina lived, she would rally the army. She would unleash the fury of the Roman people against him. He had no choice left. He abandoned the pretense of an accident. He sent the Praetorian Guard, led by Anicetus, the man who built the boat, to her villa. The soldiers surrounded the house. They broke down the door. Agrippina was in her bedroom with a single dim lamp burning. When the soldiers entered, she didn't run. She knew the game was over. The centurion drew his sword. Agrippina tore open her robe. She did not ask for mercy for her life. Instead, she offered the ultimate condemnation of her son. She pointed to her womb and said, "Ventrem feri. Strike the belly/smite my womb." She was telling them to strike the place that had brought Nero into the world. It was her final act of defiance, a declaration that her only crime was giving life to the man who was now taking hers. She was stabbed to death. Her body was cremated that same night on a dining couch with no ceremony. Nero would rule for another 9 years, but he was haunted by his mother. Historians say he saw her ghost, that he was whipped by furies in his dreams. Without Agrippina's political intellect to guide him, his reign descended into chaos, fire, and eventual suicide. The Julio-Claudian dynasty ended with him. Agrippina the Younger was a villain to many. She poisoned, schemed, and manipulated. But in a world where women were property, she forced Rome to bow to her. She was a woman who refused to be a footnote. She created an emperor and she destroyed herself in the process. In the end, she got exactly what she wanted. The prophecy given to her years ago said, "He will be emperor, but he will kill you." She had replied, "Let him kill me provided he rules." And he did.